Disclaimer. Some of the topics discussed in this episode could include murder, child abuse, drug abuse, domestic violence, sexual assault, and other disturbing content. Please do not listen if you are sensitive to any of these topics. Hi everyone. Today's episode is going to be a replay of a YouTube live episode that we did of Canadian true crime. We were talking about the Lost Boys of Pickering. This case is very cold. It's a 28-year-old case. I will put the link to the replay of the live stream in the show notes, but hope you enjoy it. Thanks for listening.
Okay, hey guys, welcome to today's True Canadian True Crime. Hey, Charmaine.
Canadian true crime. Hey, everyone.
Yep. Today's one's going to be very interesting. Charmaine came across it about a week or so ago there, and then she shared it with me, and I was like, oh yeah, let's do this one. Very interesting case. Go ahead, Charmaine, give the gist of it. And hey guys, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, so I mean, it's so bizarre because I mean, the more I think about it, the more I really don't think that I'd heard of this before, which is crazy because I'm really into true crime and Canadian true crime especially. So when I saw it, I thought, what the heck is this? And as I read into it, I can understand how it kind of flew under the radar in a way, but there are so many things that are questionable, and I want to dig into it. And by no means do I think that we're going to be able to solve this. Obviously, we say every time we do one of these shows that Canadian law is different than the United States. We do not have access to information like they do in the United States and other countries. So, unsolved crimes. And so if you're looking at an open case or a mystery or something, good luck finding anything. We were lucky enough to come across some writings of an author who happened to also be a private investigator who he fought for a long time with the Freedom of Information Act to get certain documents and pieces of information for him to
And
write
video.
Yeah, and he did a number of interviews, and we were planning on reaching out to this man because he was very open and he was very good with giving interviews, but unfortunately he passed away in January of this year. So, but basically the gist is these 6 boys that you're seeing on your screen, we'll go through them all, but they all went to a house party, and I believe it was the Friday before spring break were to start. So they were just kind of kicking off their spring break, and they went to a house party. There was about 40 or 50 people at this house party, and these kids left at about midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, saying literally that they were going to go goof off at the arena or the marina. And that was the last time they were ever seen. And you can't even say the last time they were ever seen alive. Like, these boys vanished into thin air. The story goes that they stole a boat and maybe capsized, or the boat sunk or something, and no remains or anything have ever been found. But like I said, as we read and as we got into it, Sunny and I were both like, what? That's suspicious.
Yeah.
So we thought it would be very interesting to get everybody's feedback. And I don't know. I don't think there's any kind of reward or anything for this case. I don't think the police are looking into it at all. But yeah, we can
In
dig
fact,
it and see what we think.
it only took them 36 hours to determine that they died of hypothermia in the water.
Yeah.
And they didn't actually have any evidence to prove it. It was just the best assumption of what had happened to them, but nothing has ever been confirmed. But yeah, so in front of us here we have Chad Smith, Danny Higgins, Jay Boyle, which is the family that really was talking to Bruce Ricketts a lot. Was that family right there? Pardon?
The Jay Boyle?
Well, yeah, actually it was Jay Boyle, because I believe it was Bruce when he said that Jay Boyle actually just had a child.
Yes, Jay Boyle had a girlfriend that he lived with in a basement apartment, and they had just had a baby.
Mm,
And this is the girlfriend that still to this day is looking for answers.
yeah.
So, and one of the only ones, like the families do gather every year to kind of, I guess,
1995. Yeah.
remember whatever, but they're not public. And we talked about this a little bit yesterday.
Yeah.
If that was my kid, I would be like Becky Patty, I'd be screaming from the rooftops. Like, where is my
Absolutely.
child? What happened to my child? And that
Hmm.
just doesn't seem to be happening with this case.
Yeah. And Lacey, March 17th, 1995 is, basically 28-year-old case here. So anyway, JB Lafab, I believe is what Bruce Ricketts had said when he said has got a that last name. And Michael Cummins and Robbie Rumbold. And so we'll look at a little bit like there's old time video clip of where you can see three boys pass this camera. But you know what, there's a great story, part one, part two, and part three. So to give you guys a better idea of the situation within this case, we're going to start doing that. So I'm just going to pull up number one, and Charmaine, just give me a second here. Okay, that's part one. Okay, now, okay, so Charmaine's going to start with part one, the mysterious of the lost boys, and it's not that long, but we're going to go through it. That way, you get an actual idea of everything that went on, and it's very interesting. So go ahead, Charmaine. You guys, like I said, you might not be able to see it that great on your computers, but it's not like I can enhance it. But anyways, just listen to Charmaine's sweet voices. She starts reading part one here.
Yes, and so St. Patrick's Day, and we should, I don't know, I didn't get all the way through this article, so I don't know what it says. So I think everybody should be familiar with the Great Lakes.
Yeah.
They're not regular lakes like I look at lakes or Sunny looks at lakes,
Ooh.
in BC and Alberta or in the States. You have lakes and they're pretty big and stuff. They're freshwater, blah blah blah, all that stuff. But these Great Lakes are massive. Once you're out in the middle of the lake, you feel like you're in the ocean because they're so big. Lake
Yeah.
Ontario is one of the smaller
Yeah.
of the Great Lakes, but it is still absolutely massive. So I'm going to
Exactly.
get into this article.
Yeah. And so this right here on the screen, guys, this is exactly where we're talking about Pickering, and this is in Lake Ontario. There. That's just to give you a little bit of a looky loo for a second. So hold on, we're going to hide that, stop screen, and then go back to the article. Okay. Mhm.
So Pickering,
So make
not a
this
day
bigger.
goes what?
No, I was just sorry. I just took us off screen so I could make it bigger for people.
Okay. Not a day goes by that Patricia Boyle doesn't think about her son. She wonders what kind of father and uncle he would be, or what he would have looked like on his 40th birthday. 40th birthday.
Wow.
Jay Boyle didn't attend that milestone birthday dinner on December 24th, just as he's been missing from all the family gatherings for the past 23 years. So this article was clearly 5 years ago because it's 28 years ago now.
Mm.
Jay was one of six teenagers dubbed the Lost Boys, believed to have stolen a boat and water tricycle and taken an ill-fated ride on the frigid waters of Lake Ontario in the early hours of March 17th, 1995, after a night of partying in Pickering. Say that three times fast. Um, It was like a dream that's still not real to me, Patricia said. The disappearance of 17-year-old Jay, 18-year-old Chad Smith, 17-year-old Robbie Rumbold, all of Pickering, 17-year-old Jamie Lefebvre of Scarborough, 17-year-old Michael Cumming from Oshawa, and 17-year-old Danny Higgins of Ajax has stumped investigators and family members for more than 2 decades. Video surveillance caught 3 of them breaking into a marina on Frenchman's Bay, but there's been no sign of the teenagers since, or virtually anything related to their disappearance, nothing that's been confirmed anyway. A gas can, believed to have belonged to the 14-foot Boston Whaler replica police think the boys stole, washed up in Wilson, New York, but private investigator Bruce Ricketts has questions about even this, as do I. Jay's parents and the 4 Boyle's sisters lost their son and big brother the night of the boys' disappearance. Sisters, I don't know,
Sobin.
Sobin, Boyle, and Amanda Boyle, and their mother all remember Jay the same way. He was funny and outgoing. He loved his family, that's for sure. If you're a friend, you're a friend. He'd stick up for his friends. One more time, Sunny.
Oh, Sobin?
Sobin was just 12 years old when her big brother went missing. Amanda was 15 and shared Jay's group of friends. She was supposed to go to the party at Chad's new apartment the night the boys disappeared, but was sick and stayed home. The next day, Amanda heard from Jay's girlfriend, with whom he had had a baby and was living with, that her brother never came home. At first, I wasn't too worried because Jay had a tendency, not that he'd take off, but he had friends in Toronto too. He would go to Toronto, but he always kept in touch, said Amanda. The sisters searched for weeks for their brother. I participated in every single search there was. It was really emotional, said Amanda. The Boyle home became the base camp. We had so much family. We had neighbors dropping off food. It was ground zero, I guess. It was a mess. When Jay, an avid baseball player, didn't show up to play that season, a cloud shadowed the hope the family had clung on to. Jay's loyalty to his family was the true indicator that her brother wasn't hiding out, planning to return one day. As time went on, I kind of started accepting it because Jay wouldn't do that to my mom or leave his daughter, she said. Saying it was difficult for the families involved is an understatement. Never one to get into a fight before her brother disappeared. Sobin says that she fought her way through teenage years when kids would laugh at the situation or make comments that her brother was dead. That's not something you want any teenager girl to do, is fight all the time, but I thought that everyone was out to get me and didn't understand me, she said. Sobin and the family did the best they could to keep Jay's memory alive for his daughter. Her mom always had pictures of her. I'm sorry, I left my glasses at work, guys. Her mom always had pictures in her room of Jay. She says of the mother of Jay's daughter, now a young woman. His daughter always has been at the beach there on his birthday. The families gather each March 17th at Frenchman's Bay to remember the boys and to keep their memory alive. I think it's important to keep it out there and in the public for all the boys. Maybe someone might know something that has some truth to it, might look at their picture after all these years and think maybe I should speak up if they do know something. Patricia will always have some hope that her son will come home to her, but she too knows Jay wouldn't have abandoned his family. I hope we bring him home, either way, just so I can say bye, and for my girls, they've gone through it a lot, too, she said. Sobin wants to find answers to the questions that she hasn't been able to shake from her mind. The video that captured the boys at the marina the morning they disappeared did not provide many answers. I think the one thing that's always bothered us is the security camera of the boys. They only got 3 of them. Why weren't there 6? Where is the boat? Why haven't the bodies or at least one of them surfaced? Years after the disappearance, pants closely resembling the pair Jay was wearing the night he disappeared were found in the Niagara River. They contained remains, but DNA has not been extracted, which that I don't think is accurate because they did, and in 2018 determine that the remains did not belong to Jay Boyle.
Yeah.
There are literally hundreds of questions that I have. Yeah, that would make sense because this was like over 5 years ago. There are literally hundreds of questions that I have that I've actually put to police, and they've not responded to any of those requests. Why? I don't know, Rickett says.
Okay. And so let me come back here. Okay, and then whoops. Hi guys. And then I'm going to go to, I don't know why it's on that one. It should be on this one. Okay, number 2.
Yeah, the Boston Whaler, from what I understand, it's a boat that's got like a a specialized bottom to it that's mostly foam and completely
Yeah.
um, like an actual Boston whaler is considered an unsinkable vessel. So this being a replica, you would think that would be one of the replicated features. Do you know what I'm saying? So we'll get into it, but
Yeah. I was
that's
going to say we'll
the
get
most
into all that.
suspicious part. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, we'll get into all that once we finish this. Then we'll come back because I'm on a different screen myself. I can't actually see the questions until I come back over. Okay, so let's see here. So this should be part two, I believe, right? Okay, part two. Okay, Pickering, the family of a missing teen and private investigator question why police took 36 hours to begin the search after Jay Boyle, Chad Smith, Robbie Rumble, Michael, Danny, and Jamie went missing. They wonder what happened to some of the evidence and what more could have been done to find the boys, some of whom were no strangers to the police. The police didn't take any of the reports seriously, said Jay's sister Amanda Boyle. The boys are believed to have stolen a Boston whaler replica and a water tricycle, and we'll clear up that as well, from two Pickering marinas and taken them for a deadly ride on Lake Ontario. They reportedly left the party at 12:40 a.m. on March 17, 1995, planning to goof around at the local marina. A surveillance camera caught them entering East Shore Marina at 1:48 a.m. One or more witnesses heard a boat on the lake between 2 and 3 a.m. At 3:30 a.m., two teens reported them missing. By 2 p.m. on March 19th, a search was underway. The search, which involved several police forces and the military, was called off on March 20th, but police followed up on leads. Questions to the Durham Regional Police were unanswered as the original investigators are no longer on the force. Still, police urge anyone with information to come forward. So officers are aware that this is a cold case, and we're hoping that if anyone has information on the disappearance of these boys, to contact DRPS, which is the Durham Regional Police Service, says Constable George Tudos. Any small piece of evidence which would benefit the investigation, if someone had something very small that they think is very insignificant, that is something that could into a whole case around and lead us in the right direction. Ottawa-based private investigator Bruce Ricketts had been looking into the case at no charge for more than 6 years. He says he faced constant roadblocks, and much of the information he received from the police through the Freedom of Information request is heavily redacted. They won't allow anyone. So yeah, so be grateful in the U.S. for how much you guys actually do get, because it's way 10 more than what we get here. They won't allow anyone in to take a second look at the evidence, he says. That only 3 boys were spotted inside the marina on camera puzzles the Boyles. Family members watched the video in 1995 and identified the teens on tape as Jamie, Robbie, and Michael, and no one else. They did not see footage of them stealing the boat. When the family asked to view the tape again, police told them that they didn't have it, the family said. How do you say something's not there that have the mums have seen, that all the families have seen, said Sobin Boyle. Neither vessel has been found. Okay, that's something's not right there either. According to the FOI document, an employee from East Shore Marina said that the Boston whaler replica, deemed to be unsinkable by many, was built but in rough shape. It would sink, but over a period of time. Ricketts wonders how nobody spotted the boat if it didn't sink immediately. He found in his investigation that there were some possible sightings, and a company that specializes in underwater searches using a technology called side scan sonar was asked by police to search after a possible boat sighting was reported. But he says before the company even had a chance to start the search, the contract between the police and the sonar company was canceled. A gas can was found in Wilson, New York, and believed to have belonged to the stolen boat. Now, I do remember, just quickly, this is my own words here, that Bruce Ricketts said that he tried to contact Adventures with Purpose, but that he had heard nothing back, which was sad, that he didn't hear anything back at all. He went because Jared had always answered me back. Whenever I'd emailed him like 3 times, and I always got an answer back. So it made me sad when he said that. He wonders how the gas can landed there, considering a witness stated that based on the currents and the winds that day, that boat would have ended up in Rochester, New York, which is about 120 kilometers east. Um, FOI documents show possible sightings of the boys. Some put the boys in Kew Beach in Toronto, near the home of Jamie, days after the disappearance. But then one witness said she spotted Jamie in a Burger King near Clarence, New York on March 19th. Another person said she saw Chad at his home on March 17th. I don't read too much into them, said Sobin, who's heard many stories. The Boyle family said Jay wouldn't leave his family and daughter, but Sobin isn't convinced that the boys simply went for a joyride and drowned. I think there was something more to it that night, she says. Amanda knows they had taken boats in the past. It's not out of the ordinary that would happen, she says. To me, I honestly believe that if they did drown, but something still doesn't sit right with her. As much as I know he's gone, I just don't understand how they never found anything, she says. Rickett questions if drugs had anything to do with the boy's disappearance. The area was a hot spot at one point in time, he says. There was an awful lot of smuggling going on from Durham to the area of New York and back. This is one of the many questions he has put forward to the police. I think it will take reopening of the entire case, reevaluation of all the evidence that existed, Rickett says. There's too much hidden here. There's too much not being said. He said that OPP and the RCMP should investigate. The Boyle family and the Ricketts have been piecing information together from a separate case, but one they believe may be connected to Jay. In 1998, two sets of remains, one in a pair of red pants, were found in Niagara River. Jay was wearing red Levi jeans when he disappeared. Part three will focus on the pants and the hurdles. So uh, we're going to go back, stop screen for a second. We'll go over to part three, and Charmaine will continue to read this part. Okay.
So in Niagara, answers surrounding a pair of pants that a family believes could belong to missing teen Jay Boyle haven't been easy to find. Jay's sister Amanda came across a file on the OPP Missing Persons Unidentified Remains online database. OPP is the Ontario Provincial Police online database regarding a pair of pants containing human remains that were found in Niagara region in 1998. The pants and belt look similar to the red Levi jeans and belt that Jay was wearing when he disappeared in 1995. It is believed 6 teens took an ill-fated ride onto Lake Ontario after stealing a boat and a water tricycle from a Pickering marina on March 17th. The vessels nor the bodies were ever recovered. As extracting DNA from a small sample of remains has proven difficult, the remains are still unidentified, which what we said earlier, in 2018, they were identified and not connected to Jay Boyle. But as far as we're concerned, they're trying, says Jay's other sister, Sobin Boyle. Private investigator Bruce Ricketts questions the entire case surrounding the pants. He has been pressing both Niagara Regional Police Service and the Office of the Chief Coroner to get to the bottom of identifying the remains and clearing up questions he has. In fact, he's taking his issues with the Niagara Regional Police Service to the Ontario Superior Court of Justice. Ricketts has started a GoFundMe campaign in order to do so. He's investigated the case for free this far, but with the high cost to take this one up, he hopes to raise $4,500. Ricketts' campaign explains one of 2 sets of bones found on April 10, 1998 in Niagara was encased in a pair of what police report at the time called red denim jeans from Levi Strauss. In 2014, the unidentified remains were sent to the Ontario coroner in Toronto for DNA testing, though the Ontario Ombudsman Ricketts and the Boyle family were granted a meeting with the coroner's office. Ricketts learned the pants studied by the forensic anthropologist had waterproof coating and cannot be a pair of red Levi's jeans from the 1990s. Why the contradiction in descriptions, he says. Who is right, who is wrong? Are remains recovered in 1998 the same remains viewed by the anthropologist in 2014? He also says that he has reason to believe that the remains were misplaced at one point and questions the continuity of evidence. They won't give me access to any autopsy information, he said. They won't give me access to viewing the evidence they have. Ricketts asked the Office of the Independent Police Review Director to step in, but his request was turned down by the office, stating that it was not in the public's interest. Niagara Police Inspector Jim Lee explains police were called in 1998 to the Sir Adam Beck Hydroelectric Generating Station in Queenston, which is next to the Niagara River, after staff came across two sets of human remains when they were cleaning out the grates in the forebay. This was the first time they were cleaned in 7 years. He said the pants could have simply looked red when they were initially found, but more orange at the autopsy stage. Is that red or is that orange? He says in an in-person interview, pointing to the photo. Are they red when they're wet and as they dry out, they go orange? And then in the picture, he's pointing and says, here they're wet. He explains the remains were carefully put into an evidence bag and sent to Hamilton General Hospital for an autopsy. I have no questions whatsoever about the continuity of the items we recovered from Sir Adam Beck in 1998 to the items that were examined by the coroner, Lee said. The inspector says it is highly unlikely a body that went missing in Lake Ontario would end up at that station. And that's what I was saying too. The flow is completely the opposite direction.
Right.
So it's impossible for the remains to have come from Lake Ontario because Queenston is approximately 24 kilometers from Lake Ontario, he said. The Niagara River flows into Lake Ontario. So somebody would have had to travel up the Niagara River, and then they'd have to physically climb the encampment, walk around, and enter here. So he's obviously got a map up when he's doing this interview. But to Ricketts, a positive ID on Jay Boyle would open a whole new can of fish. How did Jay's body end up in the Niagara River if he was lost in Lake Ontario? The physics just aren't there. Police are also anxious to learn the identity of the remains. I can't say that it is not the remains of Jay Boyle, but it is highly unlikely, but we're still moving forward to 100% exclude him if that information is correct, coming from the Centre of Forensic Science in Toronto. For the Boyle family, if the remains turn out to belong to Jay, there would be some closure. They're currently trying to get DNA again from those remains, they say, Simone said. When asked for confirmation, forensic anthropologist Kathy Grusbier?
Sure. Gruspier, looks like.
Grusbier?
Gruspier?
I don't like it. Wrote in an email, we are unable to publicly release information about any of our death investigations in accordance with the privacy provisions of the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act. I don't like that as true crime either.
I know, right?
Lee says, hypothetically, if the remains do belong to Jay, the Niagara Police Service would conduct an investigation. He did note when they examined the bones at the forensic autopsy, there were no obvious signs of foul play. Simone says Jay has been ruled out of the second set of remains found in Niagara. Her mother submitted a piece of his umbilical cord in order to create his DNA profile. Simone hopes the other families that haven't yet will submit their DNA as well. She says new legislation known as Lindsay's Law, which has created new DNA-based National Missing Persons Database, may now provide a chance that one of the boys will be identified one day. It would be nice for at least one of us to have that, she said.
Yes. Okay. So that's it for, hold on. Come back over to the screen over here. Okay. So that's for there. And so I'm gonna bring up do this for a second. And let's just take a
Bunch
look.
of really good questions in chat.
Yeah. If there's anything that you want to look at and answer there, feel
Well,
free to.
because all the questions are all the questions that we had, and as we go through here, I think everybody's minds are going to start to be blown because the answers are not what you'd expect.
Well, let's do a couple of things to clear them up. So, like the tricycle was not the same day as reported. Bruce Ricketts. Go
I
ahead.
think as well it went it was stolen from a different marina close by, not
Yeah,
even the same marina.
correct. So this is so a lot of people are saying like as what was kind of seemed to be first reported that it was like the same day on the 17th of March, but it was the 16th day that the boys had actually gone to the marina as well, where they stole like this from a different marina close by. And it was on the 17th that supposedly it was the did I right here like a replica of the Boston whaler was reported missing. So that's kind of why they linked that to there, but they were on separate days. 16th, they were down at the marina. 17th, they were at a party and went to the marina. And that's where three of them were caught on camera. And then the other thing, Charmaine, was about the DNA.
The DNA, the,
Yeah,
the
because the
DNA
DNA,
did come back not much. I mean, obviously they didn't release whose DNA it was, but it was not related to this case, and that happened in 2018.
yeah, because they had like a long bone, as I remember them
Yeah, it
saying.
was like one bone.
Yeah. And so finally they were able to extract and then they concluded, but that's where things got a little bit strange because um so if we go here, so let me just show you this picture right here. Can you guys see that okay? So this is the marina back more like 1995. There's no view of it, so the closest would be 2002. So anyways, so there's a camera that's right here on the marina. The boys had come in through here, parked or whatever, and then they were caught, found walking, three of them, where this camera is right here. And according to Bruce Ricketts, it was in still within line of where the Boston whaler was that was reported missing the next day. And then the other camera is facing here, this White House over here. So that's just to kind of give you an idea of how this is right now, how it looks today. Make that a little bit bigger.
And my question is,
Go ahead.
why did they split up?
Well, well, that's just it. I guess we just don't know. Like, kind of
Some of
like
the
Bruce said.
speculation was one like one group of three went to this marina and stole the boat, and the other group of three went to the other marina and stole the trike. But then we found out that no, well, the trike went
Mhm.
missing the following day. So
Right. Yeah.
I mean, but it's still being attributed to these boys, you know?
Yeah. And so yeah. So it's like where was I going to say? Okay. So this is the pair of red pants. So this is Jay Boyle here, and Jay Boyle was wearing a pair of red pants with a black belt, size 32. Go ahead, Charmaine, if you want to feel like if you want to explain this one a bit, I
I
can. Or
would
you,
just like to say that for all you people out there that aren't Gen X, in the 90s, red Levi's were the shiznit. I had a pair of red Levi's. Everybody and their dog had a pair of red Levi's. So this boy was wearing red Levi Strauss jeans. Do you want to go up to that close up of the jeans? The back, yeah. So we can see here, we all know what Levi's look like in that kind of telltale little orange tag there. But if you look really closely through the dirt, you can also see the Levi stitching on these jeans, right? These
yeah,
jeans are reportedly the same size 32 that Jay Boyle wore. Um, but
they're claiming they're waterproof.
they're now, not now, but later on at autopsy, they're claiming that these are actually waterproof, fire retardant orange parachute pants. So not denim at all. And why a 17, 18-year-old boy would be wearing fire retardant waterproof parachute pants
Mhm.
to a party. I mean, I guess that's back in the MC Hammer days, possibly would have
Yeah.
been, you know what I'm saying? But I don't know how, what, and parachute pants don't have back pockets like this. They just
Right.
don't.
They don't. They have just side pockets, parachute pants.
So tell me, where are these specific jeans? because what they tested, in my humble opinion, are not these jeans that are clearly Levi's.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right.
They're
These are
Levi's.
these are not like a waterproof type pant. These
And
kinds of
the remains that we're talking about is one long bone that were found not even in these pants. These pants are not what was recovered from Niagara River. Um, Orange parachute pants were recovered in the grates of whatever the hydroelectrical station. They were cleaning the grates and they came across two sets of human remains. And these pants in the picture are what they were recovered, with one long bone in them that they were able to, after many years, finally extract enough DNA to get a profile, and they didn't match Jay. But my point is, the jeans that this boy is wearing are Levi Strauss, according to his family. And I'm backing it up because I had a pair of Levi Strauss red jeans. They were just the in thing. And then the previous picture, we can see the Levi brand tag on the back. We can see the stitching in the pocket. Those jeans are not these pants. You
Mhm.
know, they're saying they are. And it just, I don't know. It just,
Oops.
and that's the only thing that's ever been found. This
That's a
pair of
trike.
pants
Yeah.
and one
Ah,
bone, one bone of the boys. This is the only
what's
trace of
that?
them that's ever been found. And the Niagara Regional Police Department was undergoing renovations. So this here on the screen is Bruce Ricketts, and he suspects that that evidence, the genes, were misplaced during those renovations, and then somehow got mixed up with the orange pants that had eventually been tested. Do you see what I'm saying? Like he thinks that the gap in time from when they were put in for autopsy or whatever and then sent to the hospital or the
Yeah.
coroner, that that time in there, there's no continuity of evidence, and they somehow got mixed up with a pair of orange parachute pants that contained the bone of some other person.
And
Just as a
sorry.
side note, Lake Ontario is not un. How do you put this? There have been many high profile cases in Canada where the killer has used Lake Ontario as their dumping ground. We've got Luca Magnotta, who, some feet washed up on the shores of Lake Ontario. We've got Michael Briere, who dismembered his victim's body and put her into Lake Ontario. And that's not even saying how many people have unalive themselves by throwing themselves off of the Niagara Falls and wind up in those grates as well. So, I mean, it's morbid to think about, but it's not unheard of to find human remains in that same area.
Oh,
But
really?
but they're not going to flow from Lake Ontario up into Niagara River area. It's just not going to happen. The flow is the opposite direction. So it's
Uh,
just
some people, yeah. I mean, I've seen these before on the water, the trikes.
when I was 17, 18, I would have been all in to take one of these things for a joyride.
Yeah,
But does that look to you like something that would sink out of sight with no trace
absolutely not.
in 24 to 36 hours? Like, you'd see it. You would see it.
Yeah, that something like that. That's not sinking.
You would
And
see it.
yeah.
At
Um,
least not like the tire or some debris or something, anything.
well, that's the same going towards, like I said, like, okay, so let's talk about this right here, Charmaine. We'll talk about the can. Okay, so this had 25, they deemed that there was about 25 miles worth of fuel that
Mhm.
was in this tank. And go ahead, Charmaine, if you want to, or I can. It's up to you.
But I mean, it doesn't really matter. I think both of Sunny. I think you're kind of leaning towards this was on that
Well,
Boston Whaler, and I'm leaning towards it. It might not have been, and that this type of gas tank would have had to have been manually removed with
right.
tools to get it clean off the boat like that. So I don't think it's from that boat. But
So I was going to say, so Bruce Ricketts did an interview a year ago with if you guys know Jason Hebert, you guys know Jason Hebert, him and this other lady and Bruce Ricketts had done a live on about a year ago on the case. And so so this is coming from Bruce Ricketts. He said that this actually is the can. Well, no, first of all, um, Jason and that weren't sure if this was like the actual can online or if they were just someone was just showing it. And then Bruce said, no, this actually is the can that they found in the water, a couple weeks later towards Wilson, New York, that was floating. So, what he said about this one can is that where it says number one, there's like a dent there. And obviously, it's written in Canadian and French or English and French. So, it's from Canada. So, he said that this was the can from the Boston or that Boston whaler according to Bruce Ricketts. Okay. And again, 25 miles worth. But what he said also is that like this is something, like think of a propane tank where you literally got to,
Mhm.
pling it on, hook it up type of idea. So this isn't something that just falls off. This would have had to have been, unhooked, taken off. And then not only that, but so when this was found, like the gas cap was like not on it as well, that there was actually no water inside of it. He said that it was just floating, but
It's strange because
yeah.
it's, I
So,
mean,
well, and so here let me see here. So let me stop screen and we'll go back over to Google Maps for a second. Okay, so this here obviously is the marina. Okay, whoops, and Lake Ontario. So this is about 34 miles, just going straight across with Google Earth there. And this is Wilson right about here. So, somewhere in this area is where they found this a gas tank a couple weeks later. What I thought was kind of pathetic about this case, and it doesn't really shock me with the Canadian cases that we kind of hear about, kind of like how you guys feel about the American ones, with the lack of almost like seeming like no real big effort put into it, because he said it was like from about 26 to 32 hours, something like that, or 36 hours before they even like were looking at the case. Basically, they just thought that maybe they were like somewhere else, da da
yeah,
da. So it took them, a couple of like a day and a half before they actually started looking into it. And then when they did, it only lasted about 36 hours, he said, before they deemed it as, and that's why they're saying like March 20th,
mhm.
but they basically deemed it as okay, they obviously stole this Boston whaler. They all drowned at in the water and died of hypothermia. End of story. That's the best. So that was the most likely scenario to have happened. And so Bruce is saying, and kind of like this reminds me of the Lucy Leppy case because of not Lucy Leppy, sorry, Nicola case out in England there, where, it said that she basically hit that cold water and died within a few seconds. Um, and so it was like, okay, like cold water. I remember reading it up myself, and Bruce Ricketts was also, he said, like a cold water scuba diver as well, right? So it's usually natural that yes, a body in colder water, you can be kept down in the water, but six bodies is different than one body. So
And
he,
they were, yeah, I don't buy it because, yeah, it gets cold, but I think in the entire history of keeping records like this lake has frozen over like 3 times
mm,
ever. Like it's deep enough and big enough that it doesn't matter. It doesn't freeze over. And I get that doesn't mean the water wasn't cold, but these were young guys, maybe drunk and alcohol would play a part of it. But after a few days, their bodies, their remains would have surfaced. Something would have surfaced.
yeah.
You know, I don't
Um,
care how cold the water is. They would have popped up somewhere.
well, that's just it, right? So it's kind of like here um, you have this replica Boston whaler boat that is almost like what they're trying to say about like the Titanic, pretty much indestructible. You can cut it in half and it's still gonna float. That and if it was ran over by say a bigger kind of boat in the area without because it's at nighttime, we're talking like in the early morning here, right? That there would have been some debris, something, but they didn't. So all the only thing that they really found was this can that
with
was
with no cap on it, but no water in it, and you have to think in the middle of Lake Ontario, you're going to have those white caps and stuff, right? Like water would have splashed into that.
well, the trike was the day before, Darren. According to Bruce Ricketts, at first it was thought that it happened on the same night that the trike was taken and the Boston whaler, but the boys had according to Bruce, the trike was on the 16th that they had gone down to the marina and stole that. And then on the 17th, they went down and was into mischief after the party, been drinking. And according to Bruce as well, two of the boys of the six, knew kind of like grew up on the water and on boats and stuff like that. Um, so you have two different dates there for the trike and for the Boston whale. Now, again, there's no proof that they actually took the Boston whaler. So I'll go over, I guess, to um
Which also leads me to wonder, and this is my pure speculation. I didn't hear it from anyone else, but if your boat, if some kids go missing or something, and you're, I don't know, an opportunist, I, you report your boat stolen for insurance money, even though it's not connected. I don't
mhm.
know. Like I said, that's pure speculation, but it's it's possible that it's not connected at all. Like maybe the boat was never actually stolen. Maybe the owners or somebody the owners knew took the boat away from the marina, because you would find something, some.
It's just what like this is a lake. It's not the ocean. It's a lake. They didn't find anything. And why would they cancel the contract for side scan sonar? That's why he reached out to AWP because AWP does side scan sonar, but they never got back to him apparently. Shame on you, Jared. Then shame, shame, shame. Um, but yeah, like meaning like there's no besides that can there's no other sign of dead bodies that floated up. When we're found or body parts and stuff like that. And he was saying actually like the head is the first thing to come off because it's the heaviest. But there was no like anything, right? They can't. It's not like they found the boat. Then that's why it's one of those cases where there's no proof that they actually stole that boat and went out on the water. But it's like I understand why it's the most likely theory, but there's still no evidence to put closure to this case. So they were talking about like Bruce was talking about like the drug trade between the US and Canada,
Mhm.
and type of thing, and that like the boat could easily get tagged with a US number on that side and then, sold and da 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 da. That two of the boys knew, I get it because everyone's thinking like, well, when they're drunk. But again, how do you sink a boat that's supposedly unsinkable? You know, and then
Without
there's like
evidence,
what
no debris.
no debris, it's not floating, you know.
Is
You
that scientific fact there, Anne Room? Because that's interesting if that's true. Cold bacteria don't inhabit the remains and create the gas that causes a body to float, so they don't surface. Like, I don't know. Is that
I
fact?
know, I know it's saying Lake Superior doesn't. Oh, and Lake Superior doesn't give up her dead. I know it. This is a different lake, but same idea, cold and fresh. Well, I guess that's a thing because here you have Bruce Ricketts, who. Okay, so obviously the whatever research team that came in there for the water, talks about the cold water and how cold water, will hold a body down. And that's kind of what they were thinking about, Nicola Bully. Uh, because of the cold water, and how a body might not rise because of, like I said, the colder temperatures holding it down. But that's why Bruce Ricketts, who was a scuba diver and did cold water, he said, he just can't understand how six bodies can, like, so
And no
that's
clothing, no nothing ever, right? Like,
yeah. Hmm. Yeah, it actually, Lake Ontario has a mean depth of 283, right, and its deepest point is 802 feet, right, exactly. And the thing is that it could like, all of that could absolutely be true. That they took a boat, maybe they took off the gas tank. Who knows? Maybe someone tried to use it as a floating device, to hang on to or something, or it's out of gas, it stopped, whatever. Who knows? But it just seems like everything. It's kind of like the Nicola Bully case. That's somewhat it reminds me of. Everything would have to go so wrong, you know and yet, by the same token, there has to be some point in that that's right, like, meaning what seems hard to believe, kind of like how we feel about Kagan Klein in a way. How
yeah,
do you stack all this stuff up, and if there's literally no attachment to Kagan Klein to Delphi, like, you'd be a monkey's uncle type of thing. And that's
yeah.
how,
Ooh, in
like,
my
this
line of work, we call it the Swiss cheese model. Like,
the
it's
Swiss
so
cheese.
bizarre to think that that one hole is going to line up through an entire block of Swiss cheese, but it can happen. You can do it, but it's it's
Well,
very highly unlikely.
and that's got to be so, hard. And in just a second here, right at the 1:48 mark in the morning of the 17th of 1995, which was a Friday, you'll see three boys, go by the camera. There was other people at the marina that night. Bruce shows, like, three people, a female and what looks like a female and two guys, arrive at like 2:10. Supposedly, uh, one of the people that live on the marina, here's a boat between 2:30 or 3 or something like that, taking off. Three, six guys together, drunk, are not going to be quiet people. I mean, even when they're going, shh, people are,
Yeah,
they're not going to be drunk, or they're not going to be quiet, with that. So it's just one of those things, like, so Bruce Ricketts, bless his, heart, for trying so darn hard. And, I was going to reach out to him, like, as well. And Charmaine was saying that, because I was like, oh, I'm going to reach out to this guy, get him on a live, and we'll talk about it, see if there's any updates since the last year or whatever. And then you told me that he had passed away in January, which I guess this January, right? The one that
yeah.
just went
Just this past January, yeah.
you know. He said that he had about 1,600 to 2,000 pieces of information, and he said it took him three times to get this, three requests to get this video footage. At first, he said that there wasn't any, and he's like, well, of course, how can that be? Because the moms, had viewed this to identify their children or whatever. So, anyways, he said it took him three times because, like I said, it's not easy breezy to get this information in Canada. But let's just play this for a second. I'll take us off. I'll put us up here. I'll take the branding off for a sec just to make life a little bit better. So it's basically, you guys are going to see right here, um, three figures walk by. So Bruce is saying, like, we're the other three on the other side of the camera, type of thing. And these three were on this side of the camera. But let's just play this. I'm not going to play the sound because the sound will be irritating. And this is an inset camera looking at the White House. This is the other camera. So just keep looking here.
Darren, I don't know exactly how big the lake is. I do, but it's in my
Just
notes at
Google
work.
it. Yeah.
But I know it is the smallest of the Great Lakes, but it is larger than a regular, like, in my mind, the lakes that I go to for beach and stuff like that. It's still,
See, there's one. You can see the boys. Okay. Three. Okay, we'll go back to that. Okay, they come into play here. See, there's one right there. There's another one coming in right there. And then there's the last one right. That one looks like he has a sombrero or something on his head.
Yeah,
Oh,
bandana or something.
yeah, just the way it looks. Okay. Oh yeah, there looks like a bandana, doesn't it? So again, that's at like 148 35. And so according to Bruce, okay, so hold on a second, actually. We'll
And where
come
are the other three? Why did they split up? Like if they were out to goof off together at the marina, where are the other three?
mhm.
Because
Um
the camera points the other direction towards the White House. So if they were anywhere in the vicinity, I don't know. You'd think at some point in that video you would see the other three, but you just don't.
yeah. So just to give you a refresher, the boys are, so this camera right here, this one where the red is, that where it says area view, that camera, and this is back in 1995, guys, remember, that camera is one of those cameras that does this, goes back like that, so it spans around. Whereas the other camera, the Instat one, is looking at that White House, and that's why you're seeing like the two cameras in there in a sense. So, go back to the page here. So, whoops, I want to make that bigger. Yeah, so they're heading this way, to the marina. Now, again, according to Bruce Ricketts, they're like right in line with where the Boston Whaler replica boat is, and that they were coming from a party up north up here. So they came in, down, whatever, parked, got out, and yeah. So
So, Darren, okay, so little bit of speculation, and I can't remember if this was Bruce Ricketts or somebody else. There was a teacher who was actually involved in the drug trade. In
yeah.
fact, he had a street name, and the street name was the teacher. And apparently, this particular marina was kind of a what do they call it? A pipeline for drug trafficking into the United States and into Canada.
Hmm.
So one of the theories is that one or all of these boys got hooked up with the teacher and were tasked with making a run with drugs across the lake to the American side, and something had happened. Well, not on the lake, but maybe something had happened on the American side or on the Canadian side, either way, and they were disposed of or dispatched and disposed of. Because let's be honest, there's no real effort to make it look like an accidental capsizing, drowning scenario. If that was all set up, there would be something to show that. So I mean, that's one of the theories out there, but I don't know if there's any investigation into it whatsoever.
Charmaine, quick question for you, because because there's only a part of me that's not fully 100%. Because did they walk down? Because I thought that I heard Bruce say that they drove, parked, and then walked on the marina. And so I see Anne asking that, because it was kind of like, at first I had it in my head that they just had walked from the party, which I think you said was about like 300 feet, however far that is. And then I thought I heard him say like that they came in, they drove on there. I'm gonna have to go back and re-listen to that, because
Yeah, we'll have to, because my memory is that they walked to the marina from the
that's what
party.
I thought. That's what I was like. That's what I was thinking. And then I thought that he said something like about like they drove in this way, and I'm like, I thought that they walked. So unless
Mhm.
I just misheard it, um, Actually, you know what, Charmaine, I need to go.
Remembering too, like I can't remember, but it's sticking in my head that they walked, because where the yellow is on this map, apparently the house party was just a couple of blocks from the map to the west. So
Yeah.
it wasn't.
Well, whoops, I'm blurry. I'm gonna be right back though, because I need to go to the washroom, and I'm just gonna go fill up my water. Um, and then maybe Charmaine can just see what people are saying, and then I'll quickly take a look and try to see if I can find that part. Um, and see, because it's bugging me as well. Because I was thinking, well, they were walking, and then I'm like, because they're drunk, right? So they're walking, and it wasn't like that far away. So, but then I thought I heard him say drive, or like a car, park the car. So I'm gonna have to go re-listen to that and see that. And if I can't find it, I'll just drop the link. You guys can go listen to it all yourself. To be honest, with Bruce Ricketts on there. But anyways, I'll be right back.
So Anne says Lake Ontario is equal to about half the size of the state of New Jersey. That's big for a lake. Like I said, it's not the ocean, but it's not like your typical let's go boating this afternoon lake. They're the Great Lakes. They're huge. And that depth, 802 feet, that's pretty deep. So is it possible? Yes, it's possible. But I have a hard time thinking that an unsinkable vessel wouldn't have some kind of debris, even if one of those, they're not called ocean liners, you guys probably know, but there's a name for these big vessels that travel on lakes and even rivers. They're shallow bottom, whatever, but they're huge. They carry loads of sand and minerals and stuff, but they do this on lakes and stuff. They're not ocean liners, but is it possible that one of those inadvertently hit this 14-foot Boston whaler and demolished it? Yeah, but to me, there would still be some kind of debris. Maybe. Yeah, inland seas, exactly, because they're that big. They're absolutely that big. And they're anything, and even if the cold water temperature prevented the gases from building up in human remains so they don't float to the surface. I understand that. But at some point, wouldn't a shoe come off? Wouldn't the bandana the kid was wearing, something come off, and that would float, you would think. And with the drug thing, it's not out of the question that they got wrapped up in something they shouldn't have. And some people are good at hiding bodies. Like, I don't know, but all I do know, like 100%, is that if this was my child, I wouldn't stop looking for answers and demanding answers. And kind of what Amber Tuckerow's family was doing for the longest time, they were going to the media because the police weren't giving them information. They weren't giving them any answers. So you go and you make noise and you try to find out what's really going on with your kid. Thing is, there's only so far they'd go in open Boston whaler on the gas diesel. Yes. So 25 miles or 25 kilometers worth of fuel in the gas tank, according to the owner of that boat. Which I think, if I'm not mistaken, would get them a quarter of the distance that they'd have to go to get to the American side. So I wish I would have saved that link, which I did send Sunny a couple of links to these articles with some of the more detailed information like that, but they did not have enough gas in that tank, according to the boat's owner, to get to the American side of Lake Ontario. So maybe they were drunk and thought that they could, possibly. A couple of the boys had friends in Toronto. Maybe they thought they could make it to Toronto to go party with their friends there. But we should also note that when they left that house party between 12 and 1 a.m., they had said, we'll be back. We'll be back. They planned on returning to that same house party. Right. And bringing it up because that 25 miles would be the same perimeter of the search area. Absolutely. And I think that's probably why they made that perimeter. I would have probably gone a little bit beyond that because, the flow of the water and stuff. that one of the pilots, and this is just hearsay, but one of the pilots of the helicopter reported seeing something just below the surface of the water, but nobody looked into it as far as the information that Bruce Ricketts was able to get. Nobody looked into that report. So why bother being involved in a search party if you're not going to investigate sightings? And I'm not trying to piece any conspiracy together or anything here, but at this time, CFB Trenton was the military base that lended the helping hand in the search. But guess who was the colonel of the base around that time? Russell Williams, serial killer, sicko. Like I said, I'm not trying to connect anything. These are just the crazy coincidences that can happen sometimes.
Charmaine, I'm just gonna play this part from the with Jason Hubert, Denise McGarity, and Bruce Ricketts. This is where he basically is talking about it here, this area. So I'll just kind of start it right here.
Right.
Cameras, especially the service area one.
Whoops.
It's very easy to find out basically where the top one was, the inset view camera was. But you can see that the service area view is very close to the boat launch.
Here, I'll do this.
And the boat launch is where the Boston whaler was being kept at that point in time.
Right here. Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay,
So
right there.
that gives you an idea of the thing. Now the party was actually further north than this. It was this is the street along here, parallel to this is Liverpool Avenue.
Is north up towards the White House up here?
Yeah, but beyond that, quite a distance up is
Okay.
actually where the party was being held at that point.
I was going to ask you if they walked down there, how far did they walk? Because it was 39 degrees in 1995 there.
Fahrenheit.
I actually measured that at one point in time. I don't recall exactly. It's probably in the range of about 300 yards, maybe.
Okay.
Can't say for sure, but it's in that range anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And don't forget they had their artificial warmers going. They drunk a few artificial warmers.
Right, right.
So,
Do you know how much? Did anybody ever state how
No.
much the boys had drank that night?
no. It's very difficult to talk to the people who are actually at the party because a lot of them don't want to talk about it. Same with the families. Can't really get a hold of all the families because one of the families moved away and no one knows where they are, and it's tough to talk to the other families. Jay Boyle's family have been the ones that came forward fastest. They were actually the first ones that I contacted when I started looking into this case. So Jay Boyle's family is really the one that I've been working closely with throughout this. He has four sisters. Must have driven him crazy. Yeah. So, but anyways, that's the family that I deal with.
Just real quick, since we're on this subject right now. Susan Meyer asks, how do they know that they even took the boat?
Well, there's no guarantee that they actually did take the boat. The correlation was that the boat was missing, was reported missing the morning after the boys went missing themselves. There was apparently two people living on boats in the marina who had early in the morning had heard a motorboat leaving the marina and going out into the lake. So there's only you have to surmise that in fact a boat was taken out onto the lake.
Right. Yeah. Louise Haraway says, could the boats have never been launched? Maybe the boats were never used. The gas can could have been thrown in the lake. If it was empty, the boat wouldn't have been of any use to them. But that wouldn't explain the fact that the boat went missing, of course. Right?
No, and in fact, the gas can, according to the marina staff, the gas can on that boat had enough, had 3 gallons or so of fuel, had enough to go about 25 miles.
Okay.
That's what they said at the point in time.
The
25
one that
miles.
went missing.
Yeah. So 25 miles, if you draw a circle from the marina, takes you in one direction almost to the edge of, actually to the edge of Toronto. It takes you halfway across the lake, certainly onto the American side of the lake, and then the other direction it takes you quite a distance down the coast also on the Canadian side. I should point out, by the way, that you asked the question earlier, Jason, or made the comment, or asked the question about the nuclear facility.
Right.
The reason why we investigated the nuclear facility, and by the way, we were unable to get the answers we were looking for, or at least to get the answers to the questions we were asking, was because of the security surrounding the nuclear plant, and that kind of makes sense. The reason I took a look at that is because it's possible that with the amount of water that's being sucked into the nuclear plant, it's possible that things get sucked into it. So they have what's called trash racks there. But if they get past the trash racks, they can go into the impeller facilities and cause gumming up of the works and everything else. So I asked the questions of the hydro people, and I was not able to get answers for purposes of security, and that made sense to me. So it was kind of a a Hail Mary type of.
For sure, yeah. I mean, you're trying everything at that point, right?
Right.
Never know what to ignore. Laughing Hawk, I think you had said the temperature, Denise. Laughing Hawk says, is there a record of the temperature of the water and the currents that day?
From what I saw, and I did some research through, about the lake. The depth of the lake is about 801 feet, if I'm correct, Bruce. And the temperature of the water on that day was roughly around, it stated 39 degrees. Is that correct?
Yeah, 39 Fahrenheit, right?
Yes, Fahrenheit. Sorry.
I don't live in Fahrenheit anymore. Yeah, it would probably be.
We're weird like that over here.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah. But you notice I said that the boat was 14 feet long.
Right. Of that. But there is where he's sitting in a chair and he's wearing jeans that are very close to that.
Talk about
his mother bought them for him. In fact, she bought him 2 pair of jeans at the same time, one red and one green. My understanding is back in 1995, red and green jeans were in fashion.
Okay.
Yes, they were. I can vouch for that.
I got to admit, in 1995, I was out west at that point in time. So, anyways, as I say, I went to this point of trying to get copies of the police report, and it was very heavily redacted. There was never any DNA done on the long bone. So the Boyle family actually put together an online petition, got 50,000 signatures or something like that, and the package was finally sent over to the Ontario coroner, and the Ontario coroner did their investigation, and ultimately, making a long story short here, really short, they said that the DNA that they recovered from the bone did not match the DNA of Jay Boyle. Now, having said that, again, the questions pop up. The first question that pops up was, why is the report that I received from the Niagara Police so heavily redacted? They initially claimed it was for privacy purposes. My question to them was, whose privacy? These are unidentified remains.
Right.
You don't know who they are. Are you protecting a bone? There was no answer to that question, by the way. Then I asked them, the second question was, why did you redact the name of the officer who filed the report? And there was never an answer to that one either. And then the third set of questions popped up when I went to visit with the coroner, with the sisters of Jay Boyle. This is after the bones have been sent over. Initially, they said that there was no, they could not recover the DNA to be able to do the tests. It took them quite a while after that, after being pushed a little bit, and said, yes, we did find the DNA, it didn't match. But what popped up during the meeting with the Ontario coroner was my question to them was, why did it take so long for the Niagara police to send you the evidence box? And the answer in the minutes of the meeting was that the evidence box had been lost or misplaced by the Niagara Regional Police because they did some renovations in their offices, and then when they finally found them, they sent them over to the Ontario coroner. So then I turned around and asked the police, "Would you mind sending me a copy of the continuity sheets, the ones that if you follow anything with evidence, there's what they call continuity of evidence. So you have to take any forensic evidence and be able to follow exactly who's touched them, where they've been located, where they're being shipped, who shipped them, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And there is no copy of a continuity form that they've been able to show me. But then the worst part was when the Ontario coroner, the forensic anthropologist there, described the pants that she was sent. She said that it's not possible that these were red Levi jeans from the 1990s.
It's not possible?
Not possible. That was her term. It took me a while to get a copy because they took notes. So did I, but I wanted their notes. And in the notes it says that right in the notes that Dr. Grespier said that it's not possible that these are red Levi jeans. She said there were orange pants with a fire retardant on them.
I mean, they could have faded being in the water all that time, right? I mean, that's what it looks like to me.
You got a photograph of the pants that you just.
Those weren't faded.
Yeah.
Well, they are faded a little bit.
A little, but
they're a little
I mean, not
pinkish
to
in spots, but certainly not to the point where you can't see the Levi label on it.
For sure.
Right.
Those are red to my eye.
Yeah, and it's got.
You can even see the orange tags. I mean, the red, that's red next to orange. So these aren't orange.
Yeah.
So Bruce, is there any way somebody could send a picture of that to the Levi's company and actually see if they could determine what year those by the tag that's on the back?
I suppose we could. It's very difficult to do that because they don't have a lot of records themselves. I initially asked them at the time, could you describe for me or send me a photograph of a pair of pants from 1995 in the red and green at that point in time, and they didn't even bother getting back to me. Levi Strauss, by the way, is located someplace in Germany. So
right. I might have a pair from 1995 stuff.
I was wearing scuba suits back there.
Yeah, I was young back then, but yeah, I probably have a pair from 1995.
Showing your age, Denise.
Yep, show my age.
The bottom line on that whole issue is that is it possible that the pants that they sent, the evidence that they sent to the coroner, was not the evidence that was picked up back in 1999? That was 15 years later. So not to say that there's something wrong here, not to say that somebody's doing something wrong, but it's again another question that needs to be answered.
Kubi, your friend Kubi and Automobile, a few people are saying that Levi's jeans often have tags on the inside, and Auto saying multiple tags, couple tags that have the year on them, they say.
Well, there was two things that identified them as Levi's. Three things actually.
Year.
Yeah. Show the picture and you can see the tag in the back.
Well, there was three things that identified them. We did find that out. The first one was the tag. The second one was the number of belt loops. Normally, Levi jeans have 5 belt loops, but in fact, the years that these red ones came out with the orange tags you can see there had 7 belt loops. Okay. The third thing that identified them, and you can't see it too well on this picture, but there is that V stitching on the pocket. So those 3 things identified them as Levi jeans from the 1990s.
Okay.
Okay, red Levi jeans from the 1990s.
I think that's a pretty good piece. I would say that that's a pretty good piece of evidence in my mind, apart from the gas tank. But
Yeah. Don't forget, this was found 1999, 4 years
Right.
after the boys disappeared. So who knows?
Right. So many questions on this case and so many things that wasn't done. You know, my biggest question is because of the Boston Whaler, knowing that it is filled with foam, especially in the front. If
I'll let this part pay out and then I'll stop.
what could have happened on this water? You know, if it was very calm that night, there wasn't a storm. You know, what could the boys have done in that boat to cause it to capsize, them fall out? That is confusing to me, especially because that boat's supposed to float.
Right. Right. Even if the boat was broken up, I mean, one of the theories was that a freighter came along and ran over the boat.
yeah, someone was asking earlier about if there's a record of
Yeah.
any of the larger ships.
Yeah, well, there was no record of any freighters in that area at that point in time. That was number one. Number two, though, is even if the boat did get chewed up by a freighter, there would have been pieces of styrofoam and everything else floating down the lake, and there was never any reports of that either. Somebody's asking about the sonar on the lake.
Okay, I'll stop it there. I hear you typing like mad over there, Missy.
I'm just trying to answer Sharon. Very kind, checking in on my daughter.
Yeah. And Sharon, Jason Hebert, yeah. Most of you guys probably remember him from Delphi. He interviewed like Becky and Mike Patty. That's actually who I was going to have on a live with Becky Patty. And then that whole Kelly Brown shit erupted on there. And then, like I said, Becky ended up being kind of pissed off and the next thing you know, the gag order or whatever it was came into effect. And so anyways, Jason Hebert's a really nice dude. He kind of, I think, has come back. Like he's doing like some cases again. He was talking about his work schedule, I remember before, and stuff like that. Anyways, nice dude. So I was kind of shocked when I saw him, with this case, to be honest with you. Is he like, I don't think that he's Canadian. He lives in the United States. But he made a comment and I was like, wait a second, is he Canadian? But I'm sure he's not. I'm sure he's in the United States. Anyways, nice dude. And so as to Anne's comment, I want to answer. So I actually didn't find him annoying at all, myself. I feel like that he was just trying, yes, okay, maybe he had a book coming out and stuff like that, but I'm not personally equating it to like, here, I'm going to have a book, so, I'm going to make a ton of money off of this stuff. I mean, even in his GoFundMe thing that he was doing it all for free. And then even his GoFundMe had only got like $300 of the $4,500 he was trying to get just to help, like, because obviously things cost money.
Court documents and
yeah. And so, yeah. So for me, it's kind of like, I don't see it that way in a sense at all. I see it as somebody that is trying to help the families to have some answers. And the bottom line of it is that there is no answers. There's nothing to bring closure to these families, and the family that he was especially that was more forthcoming with him, as he said, was the Boyle family. And so, yes, I agree. Um, right? It's like nitpicking everything, but, and again, to me, that's kind of what the police do in an investigation. If the police were doing it, they look at all the different things that could be possible. But it is interesting in a sense when you have everything going against you that shouldn't have happened. So, meaning you see 3 boys, not 6. You only find a gas can, but this boat that shouldn't sink sinks. Even if the boys capsized it, like why, flip over and you think it would still be floating. What about life jackets? Every boat has to have like freaking life jackets on it. Why wasn't the boys didn't have any life jackets and whatever? Because you know darn well, like it would be, to me, like it's like the law. You have to have life jackets on your
Back
vessel.
then it wasn't, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's always been, I guess, mandated, but it's only, I'll say in the last 20 years or so that you have to have a fitting life vest for every person.
Yeah.
Because we had boats all growing up and my dad always had life jackets, but if he had 9 people on the boat and he only had 8 life jackets, he wasn't getting any trouble. Do you know what I'm saying?
Right.
It wasn't as strictly enforced as it is like nowadays. Absolutely. But back then, I don't think so. And I mean, nobody was planning on 6 kids stealing this boat. You know what I mean? So there
It
could have
says,
been 1 life vest on that boat.
yeah. I mean,
Where's the life vest?
still,
There you go. Where's the life vest? It would have floated. That's
yeah.
its entire purpose.
Just what I'm seeing right here, it says Transports Canada, the first legal requirement to carry life jackets on passenger carrying vessels was introduced in 1852, followed by France. Anyways, bottom line is, like, and like Charmaine says, right? Typically there's 8 people and you got like, a couple life jackets type of thing. Nowadays it's like, yeah, I think you have to have one for everybody. Huh. Is that the law now? Probably. I would think.
Absolutely it is, because I don't remember my dad being as worried about it when we were kids and teenagers as he is now. Like when we take the boat out to Okanagan Lake, if there's not a fitting life jacket for every person on that boat, he is not taking that person. And he never used to be like that. So maybe he's
Yeah.
gotten better with age, but that rarely happens, not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I
And
just think it's a lot more strictly enforced now.
yeah. And I don't actually agree with this comment. Life jackets are part of a gear that you take on and off a boat. Most people have their life jackets in like a cubby hole that's on their boat.
Yeah.
I think it's a two-way thing there, but most people leave their life jackets on their boats. I would,
Depending
to
on the
me,
kind of boat, like I said, my dad's is a
yeah,
16-foot boat and it's got storage under the seats and whatnot. And we've got
yeah,
life jackets like in storage spaces. But something like this was an open vessel. I only saw 1 or 2 actual seats in the boat. But like I said, these kids weren't worried about taking life jackets with them. And that boat may not have had 6 life jackets. And even if they did, they're a
no,
bunch of drunk teenagers. They probably wouldn't have worn them. But my question is then, even if that boat was blown to smithereens, where are the life vests? Where is the debris
there's
from
anything, yeah.
anything?
So that's so it to me this Bruce Brickett's guy. So this is like a Boston whaler here. And in this case, and I mean, it could have been that their person took the life jackets off the boat. You know, maybe it had a storage compartment that they kept in. Maybe there was a couple in there. Maybe there wasn't. Who knows? Either
There's
way,
a gas can there in the back of
yeah,
the boat.
yeah, exactly. So, it's one of those things that, I mean, if I had to guess, I would come up with the same conclusion that, there's no sign of them, these reported sightings type of thing, blah, blah, blah. I mean, if I had to, of course, guess, I would think that they took the boat out, it capsized somehow, and they all ended up in the water, kind of like, cold water keeps bodies down, and Like that would be my guess, is that that's what happened, like more so than a drug trade or this or that, and that neither of them surfaced and they had their families and stuff like that. Like I don't see this as, there's six of them. If there's six of them, you can't see that as six of them just whoop, like, you know what, let's go be like like the children of the corn type of thing and go hide off on an island somewhere or whatever, and act like life doesn't exist. There's just no way. So the most plausible explanation to me is that everything that probably what seems strange is probably exactly what it is. But it's strange, but they probably all perished in the water, is my.
The boat was kept in the water at the boat launch. It sounds to me, I don't know because I've never been there, but it sounds to me it was probably the most convenient boat to take if they had taken the boat. And the boat, no, nothing ever turned up, CJK. There's some people like to say that gas can for sure came from that boat. I like to say maybe, possibly, but I think it's highly unlikely because of the way it was found. I don't think so. But I don't know. I've been wrong before. Boat drifted off and somebody grabbed it and stole it. That makes sense. Like if it did capsize and another boater happened to see it and grabbed it, like that would be pretty spectacular timing on that boater's behalf, seeing as how it would be in the middle of the night. It's just there's so many questions about it, and like I said at the beginning, I don't think we're ever going to be able to solve this, especially on a YouTube live stream with the information that's already out there. But I've really enjoyed seeing everybody's feedback and getting your ideas. And drug cartel, like the conspiracy side of my brain is leaning that way. Like there's something more to this than just, oh, they drowned and nothing ever surfaced. And that boat maybe was just, sold as a replica, and maybe it was just a regular fiberglass piece of junk fishing boat that sunk quickly and stayed, and everything was secured and nothing floated up. You know what I'm saying? Like maybe.
Yeah.
These boards would be about probably in
Remember,
their
it's a replica.
Yeah, they would be in their 40s now. They're mid to late 40s now, out back.
Mm-hmm. No, the boat didn't turn up. Yeah. Again, it was a replica of a Boston whaler. It wasn't an actual Boston whaler, but it was, you know how it is, designer knockoffs. Like I used to sell sunglasses. Designer knockoffs. 1 for 20 or 2. 1 for 13 or 2 for 20.
Yeah, but they're like, what made it a replica? These are the questions. And as for Bruce Ricketts having an agenda or nitpicking at things, I should say, this is kind of what people get ticked off at YouTubers or journalists for, because as investigative journalists, that's what they do. That's what they're supposed to do. You're supposed to pick apart the information and see what else comes out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So, he was doing a good job that nobody else was doing. And the family definitely wasn't paying him. They didn't ask him to do it. And that's where my comment about an agenda to write a book came in. But while he was doing that, he was also a private investigator, and he was doing good work for the right reasons, in my opinion.
Yeah. I can't knock this guy whatsoever, because he was doing it free of charge for his own sense of wondering what the heck happened, and then, reached out to the families and whatever. And again, the Boyle family and stuff like that. So let me put it this way. If it was my darn family out there and somebody came along and wanted to, look into it and try to figure out answers, I'm all for that.
Absolutely.
But so it's one of those things. Yeah, we can pick apart all the different things, but that's really there's only a few kind of like logical answers. Like it could have been, drug trade, this to this, but they went on the boat, even though it was never shown that they went on the boat. But it makes sense that they did if one was reported, and it could have been that it was found and somebody, like the pirates of the sea there, go, oh, nobody on board this boat, sell it and not think anything about it, especially if they don't know that there's freaking dead people. And obviously someone wouldn't care. Like typically if you find a boat with nobody on it, you're going to report it, you would think, right? But if you're on the US side, maybe they don't give a shit on that side because it's from the Canadian side over here. Who knows? Do you feel like that they perished in the water, Charmaine, if you were just to go by the information?
I'm sorry, I don't.
No?
I can't wrap my head around not a stitch of clothing, not a nothing. Nothing surfaced.
But
And
that was the
unless
same
it did, and it was just never reported. Like we're thinking, because there's debris in lakes and oceans all the time. Like who just disregards something or does a friendly environmental cleanup and throws an odd shoe away or something. Do you know what I mean? Like that could have happened, but for nothing to be found in the days immediately after
with 6 people, right?
with 6 people. I mean, I said over the years, if something were to have surfaced and people were doing their cleanups and stuff, maybe things just got thrown away because it wasn't publicized enough that they were looking for stuff. Do you know what I'm saying there? Like maybe if they had made more noise, people would have been more aware. Oh my gosh, here's a man's shoe or a pair of red jeans or, something. Maybe I should report this because those 6 boys are still missing. But there was nothing really like that.
Yeah. So what do you think then happened if they didn't drown? If they all didn't perish in the water, what would you think then?
I mean, I don't know. I don't think the teacher aspect was looked into closely enough. That is a quick and easy way to explain away 6 mysterious disappearances. I'm not saying I believe that, but I'm saying that I hope they looked into that and we're just not privy to that investigation.
I think they did a shit job at investigating.
I mean, every single case, like name one case that you can think of that we've covered so far that the police did a bang up job. I do have a couple, in my own docket that I'm doing on the podcast that the police seem to have done a pretty good job here in Canada.
Yeah.
Recently, but they're few and far between, unfortunately.
Yeah, and Outback. The answer to that question is no. According to Bruce, the U.S., there was like no reporting of it over there. You would think that there might have been because obviously the gas tank was found on the U.S. side and stuff. You think that there would have been, but there wasn't. He said. I just think what I think is this. I think that they called off this sonar scan search for it. That within 36 hours after they deemed them as missing, that basically they just instantly came to the conclusion that this is what happened.
Yeah.
They capsized. They got a hypothermia within like whatever it was, 6 to 7 minutes, I think it was, something like that. Died, and did it. And I don't think that a real investigative true search was ever done. And I think that that's why they called off the contract, with it, because they probably thought that was a waste of money and time.
Absolutely. Financial, for sure. Financial reasons.
Yeah. So, I mean, the boat could be down there. Did capsize. But like I said, I don't feel like there was just a ton of effort put into this case. And that's why I think he reached out to AW Adventures with Purpose, who does side sonar, scanning, and never heard back. So it really probably it's going to be like a mystery unless somebody comes across it at some point in their lifetime, that they ever come across and go, hey, look we found this Boston whaler down at the bottom of the lake here.
Yeah.
He'd be in there like a dirty shirt. Anyways, I need to go call my husband. It's 4:00 here. It's 5:00 over there, and stuff like that. But anyways, thank you guys for this fun extra chatter at the end of it. Hopefully you guys had a good time. talking about it too, as just a YOLO random shit at the end. But I gotta get going because I want to see what my husband's doing, because I know we gotta go out to Walmart tonight and see what he's doing right now. Anyways, thanks, Charmaine.
Everybody, thank you.
Thanks for joining us tonight. Take care, guys. Thank you so much.
Okay, bye.
If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to the podcast and share with your friends. If you don't mind giving us a 5-star rating, it will help our show grow. You can also find us on Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram at True Crime Story Podcast, where the discussion can continue. If you wish to contact us, you may do so via email at truecrimestorypod@gmail.com. Remember to send in your podcast episodes, case suggestions, or requests. Thank you so much for listening and supporting the show. I'm Bree.
And I'm Shar.
And we'll see you in the next chapter.